One thing that stood out to me while watching the movie Sinners was a compositional pattern that completely changed how the image feels psychologically. Almost every frame is centered and symmetrical. But what makes those shots feel so powerful is not just the framing itself. It's how the composition works together with the environment to create balance, stability, tension, and control. In symmetrical spaces, forcing the rule of thirds can sometimes break the visual harmony of the frame. But when the subject is centered within the geometry of the environment, the image suddenly feels more intentional, more grounded, and more cinematic. So in this video, I want to break down the psychology of center framing, why symmetry feels so powerful on screen, and how we can apply these ideas to interviews, corporate films, and real-world cinematography. Let's dive right in. One of the biggest misconceptions in cinematography is thinking that composition is just a set of rules, like the rule of thirds, golden ratio, leading line, negative spaces. But what if composition is really not about rules at all? What if it was more something for us to be intentional about so that we can communicate different emotion? For example, if we look at these two shots, they communicate completely different feelings simply through framing. The off-center frame feels far more observational and human. The arch becomes part of a larger environment instead of dominating the image. The center composition literally makes the arch the center of the story. It feels monumental, iconic, stable, resolved, intentional, almost timeless. The same goes for the shot of this farmhouse in Sinners. The massive amount of negative space, that's the empty space around the house, makes the environment feel overwhelming. The empty foreground almost feels endless, which psychologically creates loneliness and vulnerability. The movie Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler with cinematography by Autumn Durald Arkapaw, is a great example of how framing can amplify the emotional feeling of a scene. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the technical side of how they shot this film, I put a link in the description below of a great interview of Autumn Durald Arkapaw, the director of photography. So go check that out if you want to learn more about lenses and format that they use. Now, I remember being completely blown away by this opening sequence, especially how they intentionally kept everything center frame and how they use symmetry to create this atmosphere, this mood, those emotions. Like in this church where it's almost overshadowing the character itself, creating this sense of dominance, of oppression, of spiritual tension. What makes the framing so powerful is not that it's creating the emotion alone. It's amplifying what the lighting, performance, production design, and music already communicate. And that's why the same center framing can produce completely different feeling depending on the context. This center shot of the car driving down the road feels entirely different. The converging road line psychologically pulls us forward, creating a sense of destiny, movement, and journey. So what can we do as corporate filmmakers or event videographers to use center framing and symmetry to make our work more impactful? In this shot, it was important for us and for my client to frame this mountain in the shot. It's a kind of like an icon and an anchor on the campus of this particular school. And so it was important to frame this mountain that way. But now we have those leading lines of the walkway, just like the car, that's communicating this sense of direction, this sense of movement, this sense of going forward, right? As the students are walking across, they're walking towards their future, right? So all of those things are being created by center framing this mountain and this walkway and having the students walk right down the middle. On this shot, the building on the left and the open road on the right naturally force the viewers to look directly at Michael B. Jordan. But the world around him feels emotionally distant. It's almost like he's visually centered, yet emotionally isolated. In this frame, we're communicating somebody who's organized, somebody who's calm in this vastness of the frame. I've had comments on previous video where I showed different framings like this, where there's a lot of negative space, a lot of headroom, right? This is called negative space. All this space around the subject, even from the sides, may seem like, I think I had a comment that say, man, your subject is swimming in the frame. It is by design, because it can communicate that in this vastness, which could be your financial situation. In this case, we're talking about a financial advisor. In this vastness of your financial situation, here is somebody who's calm, poised, confident, and in control of that situation. And so now we're playing with the psychology of what this frame can reveal. And I've done it both ways, where I use more or less negative space depending on the space. In this particular case, we have very limited negative space as far as the headroom. We have some negative space here, but the person is a lot bigger in the frame. It's not as wide of a shot. And it's fine. It communicates a sense of closeness, a sense of intimacy that maybe some of the wider shots don't communicate. And in this one, we can see that because we have this cut in the middle, as well as this horizon, which is fun because it complements those lines as well. But it creates this sense of teams, this sense of organization, this sense of balance, of equality, where everybody has their place versus chaos. And so again, communicating a sense of a team that's well built, well organized, well in control, highly performing. In this frame, same thing, we use symmetry of splitting the room and the table in half and have a balance between the left side and the right side. And it creates, again, this sense of organization, of well thought, of being deliberate. We could compare this shot with the shot of inside the church because it has the same psychology approach to it with different results, but it's still using symmetry to create a sense of order, a sense of structure, something rigid with people on both sides of the aisle. And they use the cross as like the anchor overlooking, overshadowing above people. And that's what creates the difference between the positive shot of the meeting versus this one that creates something a little bit more scary and more daunting. In the opening sequence, we start with the car coming towards the camera, and it just kind of stopped center frame. And the camera continues to move as the person exits the vehicle to then reveal the church center frame with a sense of symmetry. And not that I want to compare my work to Sinners. Like, obviously, we're talking about two very different things, different quality, different size projects. I don't claim to have, this level of talent. But that shot reminded me of the intro that I did for this casino in Las Vegas. We have camera movement with the car coming towards the camera, and then the women exiting the car with the foot. I positioned the camera in the middle of the room and then elevated the camera to kind of reveal the lobby. It's a great way of, again, showing my two subjects going towards their vacation or going towards their experience that they're going to have at this particular place. And sometimes I center frame simply because it's the only way, or maybe the best way, I don't know, to capture what I'm trying to capture. And in this particular case, in order for me to capture the name of the university and the building in the back, then I had to center frame that whole shot. But I do it in a way so that everything is centered. We have the same amount of negative space here than here, and the same amount on the side to try to create, again, this symmetry and place the name of the university as kind of the center. Not kind of, but like literally as the center of the picture and as the center of the story. In this frame, you use symmetry and centered composition really to create seduction, emotional fixation, intimacy, curiosity. But what's interesting is she is standing out of this chaotic background. The background almost goes away. And part of it is the lighting, just because she's so much brighter than the background. But part of it is this framing, and it forces you to just, focus on her, and this background disappears. This is one of the first shots that I've actually played with center frame. This was many years ago. This is in a sales, very stressful environment where those people are on the phone constantly and they have to hit their goals on a daily basis. And we wanted to create this video that built tension. And, the clock is ticking, and we literally have a close-up of a clock ticking. And they don't know if they're going to hit their goal. And so this woman just stands up and is right in front of the camera, and then literally just drops the phone as she's gasping, like, are we going to hit our goal, as the clock is ticking? And to have it center frame really builds that tension because she's looking straight at you. It's a lot more direct. Yeah, and as a viewer, we're able to experience and feel that tension. This one is interesting because we don't place the subject in the center, right? It's the counter that's kind of in the center. We're cutting the room in half, and we have this perfect symmetry between the two groups of team members. And now we can project a sense of working together, a sense of facing, a sense of tackling issues together as a group. At the end of the day, composition is not about blindly following formulas. It's about understanding what the frame is emotionally communicating to the audience. Symmetry, center framing, negative space, asymmetry, all of these tools create different psychological responses depending on how and why we use them. And I think films like Sinners are such a great reminders that composition can become part of the storytelling itself. The framing is not just recording the scene, it's helping the audience feel the scene. If you found this video useful, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to dive deeper into cinematography, check out my online course, Essential Camera Settings. Thanks for watching, and happy filming.